These are the boundaries that get you body and bank, because I didn't start seeing results until then. My name is Ashley Vargas and I am the Shadow Alchemist here on YouTube, and we are going to be talking about boundaries. However, there's a little twist on them today that I feel like a lot of people do not talk about. That's also really important to talk about. We're talking about boundaries today. We're talking about time. We're talking about, your energy. We're going to be talking about what you charge and your price as an entrepreneur. And I'm going to tell you a little story about literally a huge boundary that I had to implement and I got some backlash on. Actually, I've gotten backlash pretty much every time I've set a hard boundary. But no, boundaries are love. Boundaries are self-love, honestly. And if you ever get backlash around setting a boundary, peace to those people. They are not aligned. They do not need to be in your life, because the aligned people, the people that genuinely love you and care for you and root for you, they will be so happy that you are setting a boundary. You need to set hard boundaries in the very beginning. Later, can you be flexible around those boundaries? Yes, and we'll get into that. But in the very beginning of your entrepreneur journey, in your fitness journey, on your body and bank journey, you need to be essentially very strict with those boundaries that you set. The reason being is because you really need to get comfortable in setting those boundaries. You need to 100% embody those boundaries. And a lot of times setting hard boundaries in the beginning is more for you than anyone else, right? Boundaries in general are for you and no one else, ultimately. But I mean it in a different way. So yes, you're setting a boundary to maybe get your time back. Yes, you're setting a boundary to be firm around your price point to get paid for your experience, for your energy, for your time. But setting the hard boundaries also serves another purpose of teaching you how to genuinely 100% believe and know your worth. It's going to be ultimately the second takeaway. You can be flexible once you genuinely know your worth, but you need to go through that first step in the very beginning so that you can be rock solid with your worth and with that boundary. Because that embodiment piece is where the magic is. And I'm going to give two different stories actually for this one. So in regards to time, in the very beginning, when I was working a job, a part-time job, full-time job, and when I was doing my business, I was like starting it up. I wasn't an official business, but I had the idea. I was working toward it. And I was also doing a lot of stuff. How do I go about this without giving away too much? Because I don't want to bag on this person. But I was helping someone out a lot. Like a lot. At the point where I was damn near going on dates and helping the person still while I was on that date. So basically I had no time to prioritize myself, right? Because I wasn't setting a boundary. I didn't have time for my workouts, and I didn't have time for developing my business idea. Once I got really clear with that boundary that I was going to say no, so that I can prioritize, again, my body and bank journey, I got backlash. And that person actually went around talking behind my back about how they wish I cared for, we'll just say them, the way I did for other people or the way I did for this specific person. When in reality, I spent more time with doing their favor than with this other person. But because I set that boundary, like, it was like nothing else existed or mattered, right? And maybe I'll make a video on how to navigate the backlash, because also in entrepreneurship, you're going to get a lot of backlash, and in your fitness journey as well. So that's kind of the first boundary that I set. And once I set that, I started seeing massive results in my body and bank journey, simply because I was now prioritizing it, and I now was putting my time and my energy and my effort into those, where I wasn't able to before because I wasn't setting that boundary. Now, the other aspect of boundary setting, where I'm talking about you need to set hard boundaries for you so that you can genuinely know your worth, was when I started charging high ticket. Okay, when I started charging high ticket, I was very strict with my price point, and I did not budge. Did I want to budge at first? Absolutely, right? Because that's a whole nother video. At this point in my entrepreneurship journey, I am more willing to be flexible with the price point for certain products. I want to say that, and like offer a sliding scale option for certain products, because I now know my worth, right? I am now so comfortable in my price point and what I charge that I'm okay with offering a sliding scale, like I said, for certain products, right? Whereas if I hadn't set that hard boundary with my price point in the very beginning, I wouldn't have cultivated that confidence and that certainty around what I charge. It's going through that process first, setting that hard boundary for you first. Also goes into another aspect of setting boundaries, is there's going to be different boundaries for different seasons. So like I said, in the very beginning, the very start of my entrepreneurship journey, I had to be firm, I had to be strict, I had to set hard boundaries. Whereas now, like I said, with the price point, I'm okay with offering that sliding scale, because I know, honestly, what I charge right now is still a fucking no-brainer. It is still an absolute steal, right? So I know that in my body. That's that embodiment aspect of it. And another piece is, in the very beginning, I had to set certain times for me to do my business, and I had to set a cutoff time, right? I did not work past 4:30, or I did not work past 6:30 or 7:30 or whatever it was, right? And I did not start until, say, 1 p.m. And I did not work on the weekends. And I set these firm boundaries, again, so that I could really step into that embodiment. Whereas now, sometimes I work on the weekend because I feel called to, right? Sometimes I start my work at 8 a.m. Sometimes I start my work at 2:30 p.m. Sometimes I get off work at 1 p.m. Sometimes I don't stop working until 10 p.m. But that's maybe because I didn't start work until 3 p.m., right? So there's that flexibility that I have now, because I already went through that first season of setting those hard boundaries. If you have a 9-to-5 or even a part-time job, yes, you're gonna have to be a little bit stricter with your boundaries because you have these other obligations, right? So I highly recommend, if you have a 9-to-5, put a cutoff time on your work. Or if you are someone who can get just like work, put a cutoff time. Like that was me. I was constantly overworking. So being firm with my boundaries allowed me to get the embodiment of someone who rests, of someone who works less to make more. But if I didn't put those restrictions, and I don't even want to use restrictions, I just, like boundaries, I wouldn't have been able to do that, right? So it's kind of like when you are going from an all or nothing mentality, Yes, sometimes you need to put firm boundaries in not working or not, lifting 7 days a week or whatever that may be, so that you can embody someone who does not have that all or nothing mentality, so that you can heal that aspect of you. Whereas once you've healed that, you have a little bit more freedom, you have a little bit more control. That also goes with boundaries around creating content. Maybe someone who has a 9 to 5 needs to batch their content and have boundaries around their content creation time and setting that firm boundary of, okay, this is the time where I'm just going to go and create a bunch of content. Whereas someone who doesn't have a 9 to 5, maybe they can just go and create content throughout the day because they have the freedom within their time and their schedule. So those are different boundaries for different seasons. Or maybe you are in a season in your entrepreneurship journey or your fitness journey where there is a lot of personal things going on. You're going to have to set different boundaries for that. Okay. I want you to take away that there are different boundaries for different seasons, and you need to set hard boundaries in the initial phases of whatever season you are in, or initial phase of whatever journey you are in, right? So if you're healing that all or nothing mentality, then there needs to be hard boundaries set around that as you heal it. Once you have healed and once you have genuinely embodied and you're certain around your value and your worth, then you can start to be flexible, right? With your boundaries, as long as they align, as long as they are rooted from the heart, and as long as you are ultimately taking action with intention and from your values and your morals. Oh, and real quick, another thing too, another boundary that I had to be hard with and now I'm a little bit more flexible with is contracts, right? You need to be firm at first in your contracts so that you can be comfortable with being firm, so that you can take yourself seriously as a business owner, as a CEO. So that's also just something I want to note. And with that, that is it. That is my rant on boundaries. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts about everything that was said in this video. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Where are you currently at with your boundary setting? Let me know, and as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want a little extra razzle dazzle, share this video with your Body and Think besties, because it truly supports this channel so that we can grow our community together and help more people out. And with that, I will see you in the next